Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just a really quick kind of version of what this is going to look like if you do indeed wish to do these corrections, and it is completely up to you. But I'm strongly encouraging it, just kind of thinking about how much this test is worth, and kind of looking at how your grades, if you do check home access, those grades are reported. So if you do, so kind of think about how much those might affect your grade. Here's a great opportunity to earn 75% of the points you lost back for doing some corrections, but those corrections don't come easy. So here's what I'm demanding in terms of those corrections, all right? So take this question. It's on the bottom of the second page. Is one a lot of people miss. This person, this question, missed this question as well. So here's kind of what I'm expecting you guys to do in terms of correcting it. So first and foremost, you got to look at your problem. You got to understand what you did wrong. So what this person did wrong actually occurred in the very first step. They got the wrong equation. They just kind of made up this equation. It actually has nothing to do with the structure itself. If you look at these two angles, 2y minus 40, which is located there, I just marked it on the left-hand diagram, and 18y, those are not equivalent. I would conjecture this person actually thought that those angles were corresponding and therefore congruent. In fact, those angles are consecutive interior. Here are the two lines that are parallel. Here's your transversal. They're inside those lines on the same side of the transversal, therefore they're supplementary. If they're supplementary, then it's got to be true that 2y minus 40 plus 18y is equal to 180. So this is the first step, is realizing what you did wrong and correcting your work. And then, of course, solving for y, and I'll do this quickly. So we have 20 y is equal to 220, making y equal to 11. So the second step now is figuring out how to solve for x. And of course, a couple different ways you could solve for x. The way I choose to do it in this particular example is to draw on the fact that this 2y minus 40 angle and this 4x plus 11 angle would be corresponding, and if they're corresponding, they have to be congruent. So the second equation I expect to see set up would be like 2y minus 40 is equal to 4x plus 11. Now, some people had this and then freaked out, didn't know what to do. I would argue that's because they forgot a basic fact, which is they just figured out that y is equal to 11. And if they know that y is equal to 11, they can actually substitute in 11 for this y value. So 2 times 11 minus 40 is equal to 4x plus 11. And I think if you solve that down, I think you get x to be equal to negative 7.25. Okay? So that is step one. Now that doesn't actually take care of the entire process. It doesn't really get you that many points back. But that is definitely the first step in correcting your exam, is figuring out what you did wrong. So the way you're going to get points back is actually going to the correction sheet. And I just took one cell out of the correction sheet and blew it up. So on this side, we're representing the question itself. And over here is the analysis. So the first thing you have to do on that sheet of paper is to go ahead and in this space, give me the correct answer. Okay. So that's the part where you're figuring out what you did wrong. You're now writing it neatly and correctly as if it was a test question. And then over here with the analysis piece is where you're going to earn your points. And here's where I'm going to be really picky on what you're writing. So the idea of this analysis is you have to look at what you did, determine what you did wrong, what you thought incorrectly, and then answer the question, what am I going to do in the future? What was a mathematical concept that I missed? And what is that mathematical concept going to tell me to do in the future? So here's like some kind of examples of some wrong answers, things that aren't going to get you points. So the first thing would be if you just said something like, I did it wrong because I forgot, or I didn't study, or I got the wrong equation because of whatever. Like those things are obvious. Like I know you probably didn't look at it carefully enough. You did the wrong equation. You solved it wrong or something along those lines. What I'm looking for is the mathematics. So let's say you respond, I thought 2y minus 40 and 18y were corresponding and congruent. Okay? Now that's a better sounding answer, but this still is not enough. Like this in itself is still a no-go. Like so this is not enough. Yeah, I can spell enough right. And the reason it's not enough is because it's not actually identifying what the correct answer is yet. So let's say you add to this. You add to this and say, but I know now they are corresponding. Oh, I'm sorry, not corresponding. Consecutive. Excuse me. Interior angles. Okay. Now, one would think, hey, maybe that's enough to get me my points, but nope, that's still not enough either because you didn't tell me what the correct answer is now. In other words, what's the mathematical relationship that consecutive interior angles tells you? Um, that means they are supplementary. Okay, so if you write this entire statement, that is enough. That's the analysis I'm looking for. Not just what you did incorrectly or what you thought incorrectly, not just what it actually is mathematically, but what that mathematical property or theorem tells you. Okay, that's going to get a little more tough when you get to the proof parts, but you can still pick out things that you thought were wrong, the pieces that it actually was, and what that thing actually means. So, like you thought they were alternate interior angles, but they're actually corresponding angles, and that means those should be congruent. That's the analysis I'm looking for. That's the piece that gets to your points. So please keep in mind that these are due end of the day Monday, no exception. And if you do that, you can get 75% of what you lost back. And you do have the option of picking and choosing which questions you want to do. All right. So that's what I have for you. Please go ahead and take the sheets that Ms. Bennett's giving you as an option. Otherwise, we're going to start reviewing for your final. I can tell you that the final is cut up into two parts. The first part is 20 multiple choice, single multiple choice questions, and then there are 4 constructed response questions, meaning those are questions you're going to have to write out yourself, and they're pretty complicated. So the multiple choice part of the review prep, there are 2 multiple choice practice tests with keys, 60 questions each. That's the whole point of review, is to give you more practice than what the test is going to give you. And then the thing I actually want you to make sure you download no matter what and do first is actually the constructed response review sheet. It's a topics list and then some review questions that model pretty closely the constructed response you'll see on the test. All right. So that's what I want you to do. Good luck. If you have questions, post them in Edmodo or email them to me. And that's all I got for you guys. You guys have a good day.